I just got this new NASA shirt and I'm super jazzed because literally if there is any company in the world, okay, like any two companies in the world that I could work for, it would totally be NASA and SpaceX. I am a huge space nerd, and I'm not quite smart enough to work at NASA, but I think it would be like the coolest job ever. Comment down below what company would be your dream company to work for. Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Caitlin from Leave Me Alone Plants, and today, here we are going to be talking about the pink quill plant. Now you might be looking at the screen and thinking to yourself, Caitlin, I hate to break it to you, but that plant is not pink. You would be absolutely correct, and we will absolutely be getting into why this is, and if your plant is in the same case of why that is later in this video. So if you have one of these plants, or if you are looking to acquire one of these plants, then keep on watching and I'll tell you how to keep this guy happy and healthy and ideally pink. Okay, so I promise we will get to the elephant in the room and a little bit of why this is not pink right now. But before we do that, I want to get into the super basics of how to care for this plant for anybody who has one of these and is kind of just wondering how to take care of it. Now, thinking about watering, we have to look at the classification for this plant. And it is of course part of the bromeliad family, but it also used to have the classification of a tillandsia. However, it has recently moved into the classification of a Wallisia, I believe it's called. Bear with me, I'm not scientific here. That's, you know, why we don't work for NASA. Basically, what that means is that this plant used to be classified as an air plant, which to take it a step further means that it can actually absorb nutrients through its foliage and not just through the roots. Well, when it got reclassified, it can still do this to a degree. It's just thought that it is not as effective as something as a traditional air plant that we know and love. With this in mind, when you go in and water these plants, you'll very commonly see in videos people just taking a spray bottle and spraying around the plant. You can absolutely do this totally fine. It will work for you. Additionally, if you have it potted up in a soil medium like myself, then you can actually go in and water the plant just like normal. You will want to be kind of sparing with this because as normal, typically air plants aren't going to like to be super wet all the time. So just keep that in mind with your watering. You are going to want to go in and be a little light-handed with it. And the same kind of goes for feeding. What is very common, again, is people will kind of get a spray bottle, they will fill it up with water and then add in their fertilizer. Typically, you'll see people mentioning using an orchid fertilizer. You can find an air plant fertilizer, that's great too. Typically, the orchid fertilizers are just a lot more accessible to everybody at like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. So fill it up with the right ratio of fertilizer, and you can actually spray it right on these leaves, which I think is really cool and kind of takes some of the guesswork out of how much to go in with into the pot. So you can still opt for that. Just note that it is not a full-on air plant as some of the other ones that we may know and love. As for what kind of sun you should be giving this guy, personally I find that they can tolerate a little bit of a more moderate light, which is really nice if you are somebody like me and kind of running out of spots with bright direct light to put your plants in. Typically when these grow in nature, they will be kind of growing lower towards the forest ground, so they are used to getting more of that dappled light and not something that's going to be super bright and direct. Now conversely, if you do give it too much light, you might be able to see us right here. I had him outside for a little bit, and the sun ever being shifting in Arizona did hit him a little hard on the side, and you can get a bit of these kind of crispy, crunchy edges if you can see them over here. I'm never quite sure if these plants are in focus when I'm filming these videos, but hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. Now, of course, you can leave those on there, or for me, I am a little meticulous about my plants, so you can go in with scissors and just cut off those dead pieces. Really up to you, but again, you are going to want to opt for something a little on the more moderate side for your light. As for humidity, these leaves are very thick. To be completely honest with you, they almost feel like plastic. They really don't feel real. So I personally do not have issues with low humidity with this plant, which again is fantastic being here in Arizona. So if you are somebody like me and you're looking for something that you're not going to have, you know, in a terrarium, running a humidifier or something crazy like that, then this is absolutely a great option. I think I forgot to mention it when we were talking about watering. One thing I do like to avoid with these plants when I go in with my water is avoid watering straight down into the plant and getting it into this cup in here. Personally, I do find that if you water into that cup, it can kind of sit in there and eventually it can rot out the plant. So I kind of like to just go in with a more precision watering around the base of the plant. And now, for the moment that you've all been waiting for. Why is this quill not pink? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these beautiful quills that this plant forms actually don't stick around forever. I'll bring it a little closer so that you can get a better look of these plants, and I can tell already that my camera is completely bleaching it out. Hopefully we can fix that in post. But this quill that comes out of the plant is the beginning of the flower stalk. And I'll put a picture over here of what it looks like when they are fresh and new and vibrant. Really gorgeous, and obviously what gives it its trademark name. Now, what some people might not know is that this spike right here is actually not the flower itself. What will happen when it's truly in bloom is this plant will actually put out two adorable little purple flowers on either side of this quill. They look like little pigtails, and they only last for a couple days, but when they do come in, it makes this plant even more beautiful. Again, I will put a picture over here of what they look like. Very often when you see them for sale in nurseries or box stores, you will see them with those little flowers on them. They kind of ship them in just at the right time, so do note that if you're buying them like that, they will fall off, they will die back. It's not you, it's just the normal cycle of this plant. Now, speaking of the normal cycle of this plant, eventually, as mine is doing right now, this quill will slowly start to lose its color, and eventually the quill will die back. When it gets to this point, you can go into the base of the quill and just cut it out right from there. Now, if you're familiar with the bromeliad family, you will know that in many cases this is kind of the end of the flowering cycle for this plant, and it will begin to die back. In some cases it will go on to produce another quill, but not super common. However, what's more common is you will start to notice typically that this plant does start to die back a little bit. And this is a completely normal cycle. Again, it has nothing to do with you, it is just what happens to these plants. However, all hope is not lost. What very commonly will happen before your plant completely dies back, and has not happened on this one yet, but I suspect that it will very soon, is the plant can actually put out little pups, and they will come off either to the side or come out right of this little base, and eventually those pups will grow large enough that you can either detach them completely from the mother plant and have them on their own, or you can just wait for the mother plant to die back completely and just trim away its dead growth and let the pup continue to grow from there. Typically that is the method that I go for, as I am not the world's best propagator, but either or will absolutely work and ensure that you can have these beautiful plants ongoing for years to come. Now, that may have sounded a little scary that your plant might die back, but I promise these plants overall are very, very easy to care for, and I really would recommend them for beginners. So if you see them at your local box store or nursery, don't hesitate to pick one up for yourself or for a loved one. Additionally, these pink quill plants are non-toxic to animals and to humans, so all the more reason to enjoy them and bring them into your home. That is all I have for you guys today. As always, if you have questions or comments or concerns that I did not address about this plant, please drop them in the comment section down below, and I will do my very best to get back to you. But until then, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay tuned for more videos like this from the future, and hit that like button if you learned something new today. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.